It was January 1943, after the defeat at Stalingrad. The Eastern Front had devolved into a bloody, icy quagmire. Major Heinrich Wolff was one of the Luftwaffe's most decorated fighter aces. Major Wolff immediately made a choice that went against all military protocols. He landed his Me-109 in a nearby frozen field. Landing a fighter jet on such an improvised surface was madness, but his exceptional skill prevailed. He climbed out of the cockpit and approached the Soviet pilot. Wolff only wanted to know one thing: why Dmitri was holding that. Dmitri Gaspedet for my daughters. Taking it back, Wolff felt like he was looking into a mirror. Wolff also had a daughter back in Germany. He was instantly reminded that they were fathers first, soldiers second. Wolff refused to abandon or kill the Soviet pilot. He knew that if he took him to the Luftwaffe, Ivanov would be tortured. Wolff decided to undertake an impossible humanitarian mission to deliver Ivanov to a safe, inactive Soviet area. Wolff propped Dmitri against the small wing of his Me-109 and secured him tightly to the side of the aircraft. As there was no room in the cockpit, he needed speed for takeoff was almost unverweight. The German army arrives. Just then, a German army patrol unit arrived at their location. They were horrified to see a Luftwaffe pilot securing a Soviet pilot. The army commander yelled, "Major Wolff, what is this joke? Shoot the Bolshevik here and return. You are breaking the rules of war." Wolff knew he couldn't argue with Schmidt, as he had no official order to justify his actions. Wolff quickly fabricated an excuse. "This pilot is too valuable for our intelligence. I am taking him to my commander. That is my order." Saying this, Wolff immediately started his Me-109 at full power. He flew directly towards the army unit, forcing them to scatter and flee. The Me-109 barely lifted off the icy field, with Dmitri desperately clinging to the wing. Wolff had to choose a route that was completely unsecured by German patrols. Just then, a ferocious blizzard struck. Wolff's plane, with a wounded man strapped to its side, was violently tossed in the storm. Blind flight. Wolff had no radio contact. He had to rely solely on his instincts. Dmitri was rapidly succumbing to hypothermia. Wolff knew he had less than an hour. After hours of struggle through the storm, Wolff spotted a low cloud break. He dove through the opening and saw a small, deserted Soviet airfield below, manned by a few local Soviet troops. Wolff landed his Me-109 on the airfield. The Soviet soldiers, initially terrified, opened fire. Wolff climbed out of the aircraft, throwing his hands up. Soviet soldiers immediately surrounded him. Wolff yelled loudly in Russian, "I have not come for war. I have come to see wounded." The Soviet soldiers saw Dmitri, their comrade, wounded and strapped to the German plane, still holding the wooden toy. The Soviet commander, Anatoly, stared at Wolff. He couldn't comprehend what kind of war this was. He ordered his men to cease fire. The human farewell, Wolff handed Dmitri over to the Soviet troops. Without saying a word, he placed the wooden toy into Dmitri's hand. Anatoly looked at Wolff. He knew capturing Wolff would be a massive propaganda victory, but this pilot had saved one of his men. Anatoly made an incredible, secret decision. He allowed Wolff to return. Wolff restarted his Me-109 and flew out of the Soviet territory, no shots were fired. Wolff vanished back into the blizzard. Major Wolff returned to Germany, never telling anyone about the mission. The story was never recorded in war archives. It became one of World War II's most extraordinary, secret humanitarian sacrifices, where two enemy pilots saw the father in each other. Wolff risked losing the honor of his ace status, but earned the honor of being a man far greater than his weapons.